The World Cup is here. My name is Corbin from the Parlay Club, and I've got the best bets and the plays the books do not want you knowing about. As always, drop a comment, like, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Let me know who you think is going to win the World Cup, your kind of plays, anything that you really are recommending. In this video, I'm going to quickly break down some of the futures that I'm on or looking at, how I think this tournament's going to go, how the groups are. I'm gonna split the video up because otherwise it'll be like 2 or 3 hours long. So in this one I'm just gonna purely go through some of the futures. Then in future videos I'm gonna do kind of 3 or 4 groups at a time and preview those who I think is going to win the group, what you can do with those kind of plays and that kind of stuff. For the people that don't know, obviously the World Cup is the biggest soccer football tournament in the world. It's where all the teams have been qualifying for multiple years. It's really the best of the best, although some of the countries, as we'll get into in later videos, really don't kind of stack up to these. They're the best players in the world. They've been selected. It's all nations. So obviously if you don't already know, like Spain, France, England, Portugal, they're kind of the top 4 favourites for this tournament. But you have the likes of the US and Mexico and Canada, which is where it's being held over those 3 countries. The format for this tournament, so they've obviously already qualified from their selective kind of region. So you have like African qualifiers, European, Americas, and that kind of stuff. They're now split up into 12 groups of 4 teams in each. Everyone plays each other once, and then the top 2 teams go through automatically, and then the 8 best third place teams all go through. Then it's knockout football, so it's the way that the draw is determined. The teams that finish at the top of the group play like third place teams, second place teams play that, and it's kind of built so that the teams that finish top of their group don't face another person in the top of another team at the top of another group for at least a couple of rounds. And that's basically it. So it's held in USA, Canada, and Mexico, and I think that's going to be a huge factor throughout this tournament, mainly because of the conditions, the heat, the humidity. I'm sure you've seen the pictures of certain teams training and they're just pouring with sweat. There's going to be drinks breaks. The fatigue is going to be real, I think, in this tournament, particularly after a long, hard season, because they've obviously been playing club football up until a few weeks ago, and now they're playing friendlies, and now they're going to go through this tournament. So, yeah, let's get right into it. Where else do you start other than trying to trying to pick the winner of this? I mean, for me, the odds kind of make sense. I think Spain do win this tournament. I think they are the strongest. I think they are rightfully favourites. But it all depends on the fitness for them. They've got a strong kind of core. I really like quite a few of their players, quite honestly. There's no real weak links, I think, in their team. You've got Kubasi at the back. I'm a huge fan of him. Then you've obviously got a midfield that contains the likes of Rodri and Pedri, who they have the best midfield in the entire World Cup for me. And then the key thing is the fitness of their 2 wide forwards in Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. Uh, Williams, I think, is definitely not going to play for at least the first, maybe the second game, if I remember. Yamal should make the first game. If not, will definitely be there for the second game. And I think that kind of break with injury might actually help them keep those 2 a bit fresher for longer on in the tournament. Uh, they're playing Orifable through the middle up front, and he's had great success. He's had a really good year, particularly with Spain. He's been kind of scoring goals for fun, and it kind of that central striker has been a problem for Spain the last couple of tournaments and years, where they've been playing the likes of Morata up there. It just Morata's not good enough for this kind of thing. So yeah, I really like Spain. I think they'll control the ball. Again, you look at these teams that are going to be doing the running, and it's like Spain are notoriously the best possession team. So the longer they keep the ball and make the ball do the work, the other teams are just running around trying to catch up or get the ball back, basically. I think they've got the creativity. I think they've got the flair. They've got the know-how. They've got all the experience. They've won the big games. But again, I wouldn't take a plus 450 at this stage in the tournament. I think you'll get much better, even if you basically bet them to win every game or near enough every game. I think you'll make more than the plus 450. And likewise, if you get let's say Yamal comes back for a couple of games and pulls another muscle or gets injured, this 450 will be like my plus 800 or something. So yeah, I wouldn't take any futures on the winners, but it might be nice to have a little sprinkle. France, again, I think they're rightfully second favourite, although I think they've got a lot more problems than some of these other teams around them. It's just whether they can go again if they've got the legs. Like up front, they have a plethora of talent. They've got Elise, Mbappe, Dembele, Cherki, Doué. Like they've got so much stuff. I don't think them scoring goals will be a problem. Their midfield is kind of it's good, but it wasn't what it used to be. They have no Camavinga, who I really like. They've got Tushumeni, I think is how you say it. They've still got Kante, who even at his age has still got the legs. But outside of those, just nothing really convinces me there. And then the French defense is again, I'm not sold on it. I think it's very shaky with the likes of Canate, who just has had an awful year for Liverpool. There's talks of Digne playing at left back, although I think it will probably be Hernandez, which is a good shout. I just think that the French can be got, can concede way more, whereas Spain, I think, are more shored up. I think it's gonna the winner's gonna come from these two, but you never know how the draw's gonna unpack. Outside of that, we'll just go through some of the other ones. We obviously have England. Again, everyone everyone knows I'm an England hater, but I just watching England is very painful. There's so much talent there, and they just never seem to be able to put it all together or get over the line. I think most of that team is extremely tired over given how many games they've had to play, the intensity of the Premier League mostly, and I think there's a lack of creativity. I really don't like England at plus 700, but being English, I actually think I'm slightly biased against them. Portugal, again, solid team, but I just don't think, again, they have the legs to do this. They're a really aging team with the likes of Bernardo Silva, who's played almost, I think, every game for City this year. Ronaldo's legs have, in my opinion, completely gone. Their midfield is really good. I like their midfield. It's basically PSG's midfield with Vitinha and Neves. Their defense is like okay, there's holes and stuff, but I think that I think scoring goals is again going to be the problem. I think they're going to look for Ronaldo, and I don't think Ronaldo's that same player anymore. But they only have Ramos, kind of that's a striker and backup, and again, he just hasn't done it for PSG this year in the slightest. Uh, Similar thing with Brazil and Argentina for me. They're just they're aging, and in a tournament that I think is going to be so physical, I think Argentina obviously won the last World Cup. It was a fantastic moment for Messi to win his first World Cup. But you just again you look at the Argentina team, and they're just getting older. Like De Paul, who was amazing for Argentina at the last World Cup, is now playing in Miami. Messi's playing in Miami. I think they'll still play well, and I think they'll easily get out of the groups, get through the round of 32, 16, maybe quarters as well. But I just think in the long run, I struggle to see them doing it again. And you can already see the certain teams the injuries are piling up. I mentioned Spain obviously getting those two injuries. Alvarez got injured for Argentina, and I think he's a huge part of that team. Brazil, who knows what's going on with Brazil? They obviously had a horrible qualifying campaign. Ancelotti came in, kind of steadied the ship. But again, like you can pick certain amazing players in these teams, like Rafinha, Vinny Jr., and then you look at the rest of them, and they've still got Casemiro running around in midfield. If and when he gets injured, because he's injury prone, they've got Fabinho, who's out playing in Saudi and looks awful. Their defense has been suspect for a while. It's hard to trust any of these other teams. You look at the final names in this kind of top 10, and you've got Germany, who, again, they're just like the likes of Kimmich, Goretzka, Sane. They're all just aging. Like, maybe it's the experience will help them, but I think you need fresh legs at this kind of kind of time in the season. Netherlands, I really like Netherlands defense and midfield, but again, who's going to score for them? Their front three is like Memphis Depay, maybe Somerville, Marlon. It's just it's not good enough for this kind of tournament. So, long story short, I can't see anyone other than Spain or France really taking it here. I wouldn't bet a future on that. I think there's better options elsewhere. Now onto top goal scorer. There's really three people I think that I've got marked out for this. I'm gonna start with my favorite. I mentioned about England. I think Harry Kane might be a good bet at plus 700. I think England can still go far enough. I don't think they're going to win it, but I could easily see them getting to quarters and semi maybe. I don't think they'll reach the final, but I think they could definitely get far enough to give Kane the ample amount of games. He's the main source of goals for England. That's kind of who they look for. He takes penalties. He's consistent. He's kind of injury proof. He doesn't really get injured that much. He doesn't sprint around the pitch at a huge pace. He's kind of just in the box ready. He plays nearly all the minutes, and I think the way that group and the draw sets up, I think it looks quite good for Kane to be top goal scorer. I already mentioned him. You're going to see a reoccurring theme through this, but I like Spanish props. I really like Orifable to be top goal scorer. You can get him at plus 1600, and on certain books you can bet him each way, which means even if he doesn't get goal scorer, depending on how many places, it also pays out. So if you have each way, let's say 5 goal scorers, and he finishes fifth, you still make money basically. I think the Spanish have an easy group. I think they have quite a nice route through to definitely the quarters and semi-finals, as we'll get onto in a bit. He's been banging them in for fun. I expect Spain to go far. The only problem is, does Nico Williams and Yamal kind of take away some of his goals? I think that if anything, they might create more goals for him. So I really like Orifable there. I've got to mention Mbappe. I would not take. I think Mbappe fundamentally is the best player out of all of these. I think he had the pace, the finishing ability, but my problem is there's just so many stars in that French forward line. As I mentioned, you got Elise, Cherki, Doué, Dembele all behind him. Like, I feel like they're going to take goals off him, actually. None of the. Cherki's a creator, but I feel like the other three are more of a goal scorer. Like Elise is going to be scoring, Dembele I expect to be scoring, and I think that might take away even a few goals from Mbappe, which I don't think Kane has from the likes of Gordon and Saka. I think they're going to be more feeding Kane, whereas the others are going to be a bit more selfish, if you can say. I mean, I love Haaland. Obviously, everyone knows I'm a City fan, so I love Haaland. But again, I don't think Norway go far enough to make this bet at plus 1400 enough. Messi, I would like, but again, they're going to have to rest him. They're going to have to manage his fitness, all of that kind of stuff. Ronaldo, I think his legs are gone. I don't think he's going to be a threat. Alvarez, if he was fit, I could get behind this as kind of like an each way bet like Orifable. But yeah, for me, it's probably Kane most likely. Um, some of these next props are to be their top goal scorer for their country. I'm just going to shout out a few of them and try and find them as quick as possible. Ecuador, I really like Enner Valencia to be their top goal scorer. I'm not entirely convinced at his age that he's going to play all the minutes and all the goals. I don't think he's good enough, but he just seems to turn up at these bigger tournaments. At the minute, he's starting for Ecuador as their main striker. They kind of struggle to score goals, so I think only maybe two, maybe even one would get you a payout on Valencia. Although with him, I am worried about Plata. Uh, I've watched some clips of him. I've watched him in a few games. I quite like him. Again, I don't think he's going to surpass Valencia in play, but he could be a threat for sure. Another, the same name I've already mentioned, Orifable. Let's find him, Orifable, to be the top goal scorer for Spain. I mean, I just talked about him being the top scorer for the whole tournament. I certainly think he can for Spain. You look at the other options. You've got Lamine Yamal, who I mentioned is kind of got some injury issues. He's going to be coming coming in maybe a game or two late. He scores goals, but he's not a out and out goal scorer. Like, he's very creative as well, and I think he's going to create goals for Orifable. Ferran Torres, I like him, ex-City player. He's clinical as well. I just don't think he gets the minutes. And then you look at some of these other options, and they're like midfielders or wide forwards that probably shouldn't be competing. So I think that at plus 175 is good odds. Even if you took these two together, so Orifable and Yamal, as long as one of them hits, you make profit. I really like that angle. Just mentioned him as in the top goal scoring for the whole tournament. I don't like him to get top goal scorer, but I certainly think he does for Norway. That's why it's minus 280, but I think that's still great. You look at some of the other names, and it's just, I don't think Sorloth's going to particularly threaten Haaland. I think Haaland at least gets 2 or 3, maybe even 4 goals. I think they could get through their group. And he's so clinical. He really doesn't need that many chances to score. And then on to the person I think is going to get the top goal scorer, then of course I'd like him to get top goal scorer for England. I think minus 230 is a steal here on Kane to be England top goal scorer. You look at some of these other names, Saka, everyone knows I'm critical of Saka. I think he's overrated. He's not a goal scorer for me. He might bag 1, maybe 2, but I think Kane's getting 4, 5, 6 goals. Watkins is the backup striker to Kane, so this number is purely based on Kane getting injured, I think, because otherwise he isn't going to play. Rodgers, Rashford, Bellingham, they're kind of the left wing and centre attacking midfielders behind him. Again, I think it's Kane. I think it's Kane all day, and I think minus 230 is extremely generous, to be honest. Just want to mention what I've got for clients. If you want my client plays, these are the best bets summarized from everything that I'm going to talk about and some extra ones. Again, if you recommend betting these, if you want to make some money, come to my DubClub, as you can see in the background. These are where you can buy a subscription, and you get emailed or notifications when every time I put in a play. If you're new to this industry, don't really know what picks and plays and subscribe, if you don't understand anything, happy for you to drop a comment, message, DM. All my socials are in my link me, which is also in my bio if it if it wants to load. Yeah, if you want to message in Discord, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube comments, any of that kind of stuff, I'm happy to explain it. Doing a promo code for this World Cup, so promo code World Cup. So if you go to add a monthly subscription and use that as the promo code, it will take $15 off a month subscription, which I think this might be actually the best time to ever use it. We've got the World Cup coming up, so you get all those futures, match bets, everything from that, but you get the start of Wimbledon as well. And I think that's amazing, quite honestly. Record for futures this year alone is 16-6. It's the futures are where you can get so much value. Teams not to score, teams that are really bad not to progress. You kind of get the idea. Futures have been a huge part of my bankroll and money building exercise for the last 5 years. So highly recommend getting on ahead of time. Having a great year, up 130 units despite a poor French Open. We kind of clawed it back in the last few days, but we're still probably going to end up down for the whole tournament. It's been so many upsets and kind of wild stuff happening with retirements, fitness, and all sorts. But can't win them all. Hoping to rebound for the World Cup and Wimbledon. And then, oh yeah, I was going to say, if you don't have to be a big bettor to subscribe and make money here, as long as you bet $10 per point, so I recommend like 1 to 5%, 5% being the most strongest play, 1% being a play I like, obviously, but a smaller one. If you stick to the staking plan and bet $10 per percent that I recommend, you'd be up over 1,300 quid. So yeah, highly effective, would pay off any kind of small subscription fee from me. And yeah, who doesn't love making money, quite honestly? Let's get back in to my preview. Next place I'm going to go, I'm going to have to... here it is, right on cue. Player of the tournament. Again, I'm going to continue the Spanish theme. Lamine Yamal plus 800 just feels generous. I don't understand. If you think Spain are going to win the whole thing, which is what the minus 450 is, they're obviously favourites. I think that goes hand in hand with Yamal, who is really the superstar of that team. He's the kind of named factor. If you think of Spain or like at the end of the tournament, Yamal's going to have had to have had his whole fingerprints on it for Spain to have a good tournament. I think plus 800 is generous. You look at, again, I think Kane can score some goals, but unless they win the whole thing, I don't think plus 750 is going to come through. England really have to win it for Kane to stand a chance of winning the player of the tournament, I think. And then I mentioned that I think Mbappe is the best player, but when you're competing with the likes of Elise, Dembele, who's a Ballon d'Or winner behind him, I think there's just too much competition to take Mbappe or Elise. You look down here again, Messi, if he wins the World Cup, plus 1200 is going to look like a steal. These other kind of names, I just don't see it. I don't see it, quite honestly. Golden Glove. So Golden Glove is the keeper that keeps the most clean sheets throughout the whole tournament. Again, I think the Spanish are going to win it. They're going to play the most games and give Unai Simon the most opportunities, although they've got a few issues in defence, and I don't think Simon himself is a hugely competent goalkeeper. Martinez obviously won it last time. Again, they did win it last time, so they played all the games. I don't know if I personally don't think that Argentina go that far again, but he could certainly be a good shout. I wouldn't touch Brazil. I wouldn't touch France. England could be a shout with Pickford. I think England's best route is kind of keeping that defence sure. I think that's kind of the best way for England to kind of approach it. Again, if they're reaching semi-finals and onwards, this plus 700 is going to look great. And then I can't remember his name exactly, but the Ecuadorian goalkeeper, I think, Ecuador's defense is super good. I think they could keep 2 clean sheets in the group stage. I just don't think they go far enough. I forgot his exact name, but he's one of these names at kind of the huge kind of plus money odds. Could be worth a sprinkle if Ecuador if they could somehow reach the round of 16 or quarterfinals. I think he would be in with a huge shout. Where am I looking for? Player total goals. This was another one. I'm going to mention some of the similar names that I've already been over. So Orifable again, over 2.5 goals minus 200. You might hear minus 200 and vomit basically. But I think that's good. I think he gets 4 or 5 goals, quite honestly. You can obviously parlay the minus 200. You can put that with someone not to get out the group or some team that you think should qualify quite easily. I will probably use this piece. I think this is a really interesting one if I can find him. Romelu Lukaku under 2.5 goals. Again, minus 250, so you'd probably have to play it for a unit or parlay it. I don't think he starts for Belgium. I can never say his name. De Catalat, I can never say it. But basically, I think he's going to start for Belgium. Even if Lukaku does start, him getting 3 goals looks unlikely. He's coming back from injury. He has age not on his side now. And even before, he was never the most clinical finisher. Yeah, I really like Lukaku under 2.5 goals. And then one more that I want to mention. I have no idea why Serginho Dest under half a goal, so him not to score this whole tournament is minus 200. He has 1 goal for USA in the last 21 games. Now that did come last game versus Senegal, so maybe there's some recency bias. And unless they push him on, he's kind of a right back, but if they push him into I don't know why they would, but if they kind of push him into that like midfield or right wing kind of area, maybe. But again, you're taking a player that scored 1 goal against Senegal in a friendly, who hasn't scored in the other 20 games. I think that is incredible, quite honestly. This will very likely make a client play. I don't understand it. I think all the USA props are highly overrated, including that one. Continuing the Spanish theme, young player of the tournament. If I think Yamal can win player of the tournament, then young player of the tournament is a shoo-in, even if he gets to probably the semi-finals. You look at some of these other names. France would have to win the World Cup for that. I really like Leonard Carl for Germany, but again, I don't think he goes far enough. Warren Zaire Emery is like a midfielder, has played some games at right back. Again, don't see him winning Young Player of the Tournament. Arda Güler, huge fan of Güler. We'll get on to Turkey in just a minute. But again, he's gonna have to make the quarters or something to have a big enough stamp on this tournament to win this award. I think it's Lamine Yamal at plus 160 all day, even if they do not win it. On to the next one. What do I have next? Oh, let's see if I can find it because it's always hard to find. I think it's in here. So specials, tournament specials, and then goals. Um, I'm looking at this under 290 tournament goals at minus 175. So there were 172 at the last World Cup, and that was just 64 nations, 64 games even. That's now being expanded to accommodate all the extra nations that they've added. That's going up by another 40 games to 104. To get to this number, you have to average 3 goals. And I just, in the extra games, so the same number as before, and then average 3 with these extra games. Now, I know some of these teams that they've added are not particularly good offensively or defensively, but I really think the standard of attackers has significantly decreased in the last 4 years at least. I think there's a severe lack of attacking talent. I think that the players are tired. I think defenses have significantly improved, and I wouldn't be surprised for some of these lesser teams to obviously still lose, but like 1-2-0, maybe 3-0. I don't see every team now getting pumped 4-5-6. It's very unlikely. Obviously, I mentioned the conditions. It's super hot. That kind of leads to more unders, less goals as well. I think everything sets up. I have some other props that I'm looking into, but I haven't researched enough yet. Corners, I love a corner bet. Over 980 sounds good on paper. Again, much more defenses. Teams are going to have to go wider, crossing it in the box, cutting it back. I think that's going to lead to more corners, but I'd need to do some more research on that one. Over 410 cards. I think more bad players leads to more bad challenges mixed in with VAR and all that kind of stuff. Again, I think this over would look good, and probably one of my favorites if I can find it. Penalties. Over 36.5 penalties. There were 23 in the 64 games. That's on average 2.78 a game. Again, with VAR, the way that it's going, the handball rules, all of that kind of stuff, I think this over 36.5 could look extremely generous, quite honestly. Gonna move on to my 3 best bets for this video. Gonna jump around. My first one is in Group D, and it is Turkey to win this group. I mentioned it earlier. I think the US are highly overrated. I don't understand. Like, maybe I'm a huge fan of this Turkish team with the likes of Gula and Çalhanoğlu, etc. We'll get into that when I break down the video of the groups. I would highly recommend coming back for that one. I think them to win this group is extremely generous. You can get plus 200 in certain places. I think USA have got so many flaws. Other than Pulisic, I really don't see who's any kind of consistent goal threat. They have Balogun, but again, I don't think he's the level needed for this kind of tournament. I think Turkey are a much more well-rounded team. You look at USA and they've got Tim Ream still playing centre back at 38 years old. Chris Richards, who's an important part of their defense, out injured, potentially coming back at some stage. Not entirely sure on that one, but I love everything. Is it? I can never remember if his name is Yilmaz or Yildiz. I think it's Yildiz, and he plays for Juventus left winger for Turkey. I think Turkey have so much about them and so much quality that I think this plus 175 is going to look highly generous, considering as well that Turkey start out versus Australia, who I think is the weakest in the group. They win that game. If Paraguay can sneak a draw, this plus 175 is going to go to minus 150 at least, quite honestly. So yeah, really like Turkey to win this. Also, Turkey to qualify from this group, so to come either first, second, or one of the best third place teams at -500, I think is incredibly generous as well. Both of those will 100% make it into client plays. I have to try and work out where to find the next play now, but I'll start talking about it until I find it. There it is. Continuing the Spanish theme, I love Spain to reach the quarterfinals quite easily, to be honest. I don't understand some of these prices on these, so yeah. I think they win this group easily. In the round of 32, they'd be playing Austria, and then if they win that, it's probably Colombia or Croatia. And I think they're so much better than every team I've just mentioned that they're going to be playing. I think this is going to look like a -4 or 500 kind of play, to be honest. This actually might be my favourite future on the board. I'm super high on the Spanish team in every kind of way, shape, and form. Even if Yamal and Williams do have injured, I think they've got players in backup that are good enough to suffice to at least get to the quarterfinals. Huge fan of that. And then I have to really remember where this next one is, but it's Harry Kane to be the top goal scorer from the Bundesliga. Here it is. So top league goal scorer, and then you want to find Bundesliga, and then you have Harry Kane at -175. I mentioned I like him to win the Golden Boot for the whole tournament. I like him to be England's top goal scorer. And you look who he's competing against. You have Elise, who, don't get me wrong, I think he'll have a great World Cup for France. But again, I talked about how many stars the French have. Does it kind of get lost or diminished having that many people? I think it does. I think Elise is going to have to feed Mbappe more than, say, a Saka would feed Kane. So I think the whole England team is focused around getting Kane those shots and penalties. Elise isn't on penalties, it's Mbappe. I think that all leads to Kane. Diaz has had a great year for Munich, but he's playing in a Colombia team that, again, he's a wide player. I don't think they're going to threaten him. Musiala is an attacking midfield who's coming back from injury. I think he's good. I like Musiala, but I don't think he's going to compete with Kane for this. The only one, it's going to sound funny, the only one I see as any kind of threat is Undav, who is at the minute is Germany's backup. But if he sneaks into starting, I think Germany could score a few goals, and I think he could. But again, I don't see him competing with Kane. So I think this -175 is incredibly generous. Uh, that's it for this video. I'm going to, obviously, as I've mentioned, go through the groups and all of that stuff in more detail step by step. We're already at 30 minutes and I haven't even talked about any of the groups, and I think I just said it. I think there's 12 groups. So yeah, going to split that up into probably groups of 4, so group A, B, C, D together, and then E, F, G, H together, etc., just to kind of split it all up and give you some time over the next few days. If you want to get my client plays, which are my best bets, everything that I recommend, I bet with my own money. Highly recommend coming over to DubClub. Use promo code WORLDCUP, all one word, for $15 off a monthly subscription, which is this one in the middle here. Obviously, you get all my World Cup plays, futures, Wimbledon, any other sports I have, MMA, which is, I'm having a great MMA year. If you want to see any kind of records, what kind of plays we do, kind of proof that I'm not just making up this rubbish. Again, if you come to my link me, which is linked in my bio and hopefully a comment if I remember, and click on the link for the spreadsheet, it will load this spreadsheet. Give it a minute. It normally takes a minute to load, but it's basically going to display every bet that I've made this year, how much it was for, how much I've won, and you can kind of see what's going on. Of course, it's now going to take too long to load for this video. It's died. Okay, we'll have to we'll have to leave. Oh, here it comes. Whilst I say that, also if you wanna like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff, of course, let me know what your favorite future is, who you think's gonna win the World Cup, if you agree or disagree with anything I said. And this is the spreadsheet. So if you come in, you can see all the different sports we cover, what that means basically in terms of how much we're staking, how much we're winning, all of that kind of fun stuff. Any record, click a link in the bio and go to the spreadsheet. Yeah, and that's it for this video. Obviously, as I mentioned, there's going to be more coming. So like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff, and I'll see you next time.